Hey.
Anyone? Yep. Your name?
I'll be sorry, Ben.
Yes.
September.
Yeah.
Josh. James.
Gina.
Call me Angus. Tess. Ernie.
Joe.
Adrian.
Joseph. Anthony.
Howard. Peter.
Dean.
Saroja.
Yodi.
Yadish and Zulma.
Zuma.
Yes. And we've got Bob. Bob is going to be talking for first about half an hour to 45 minutes, and then we're going to open up for discussion and questions and sharing. All yours.
Okay, a few newbies here. Might be newbies looking into this, but newbies as well as coming here. I can't teach you anything, and I can't tell you anything. Understand that right from the start. All I can do is point toward and ask you to look to where I'm pointing to see for yourself. Because when you understand or recognise what we're talking about, you will realise that nobody can teach you anything, and nobody can tell you anything, because there is nobody. What we point to is what they call, in the great traditions, Advaita. Advaita, translated, means non-duality. They try to describe non-duality by saying it's one without a second, not two. Only the one essence that patterns, shapes, forms, experiences and expressing as everything. And as if it is that, as we say, when you realise there's nobody that can teach you anything, or nobody can tell you anything. Another way of putting it is say, I'm not talking to anybody. I'm not talking to any mind. I'm not talking to that body-mind that you might believe yourself to be. I'm talking about that I am, that sense of presence, which translates through the mind as the thought, I am, just of this, nothing else.
Can you take yourself?
Pardon? Yeah, just you to complain about something. Now I can't hear you.
You speak.
Yeah.
They don't.
So that's what we point to, and ask you to look to see for yourself. Non-duality is, they just try to explain it as one without a second, not two. And Hindu description of that is Sat, Chit, Ananda, Nama, Rupa. They are the five factors. Sat is existence, Chit is consciousness, Ananda is loving to be, Nama, Rupa is body, mind. Well, existence, is there anybody who is not existing right now? You realise, no, I'm existing. Anyone who is not conscious or unaware, you're not unaware, you know you're not, and you know you're conscious. Anyone who's not happy to be, you don't want to be dead, so you're happy to be. So you're already that. And so what is there to search for? And pointedly, who is there to search? It's one without a second. The Nama, Rupa, the other two factors, Nama is name, Rupa is body, the body, mind. Nama, Rupa, body, mind, they say is Maya. Maya meaning illusion. So, see, all this manifestation is illusionary. They call it a phenomenal manifestation. And you look up the word phenomena, the definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. It's all seemingly so, seems very real and true, but it's all appearing, vibrating. And when you investigate that, another thing we point to is that the false cannot stand up to investigation. So these things need to be looked at and recognised for what they are. Now, you wouldn't be here if you hadn't recognised there's got to be something more than what you've been looking into, something more, looking for something else. Because if you were happy with your traditions and the way things are, you wouldn't need to look for anything else. But you move to come here, so it shows that you are looking and you're open, so the hearing can take place and the cognising, recognising will happen. Have a look at it. Are you this person? Well, where does that word person come from? Doesn't it come from the ancient Latin persona, the mask? And that's what we believe we are, this mask or conceptual image we've taken on board, the words we've learned. How many words were you born with? And you recognise you weren't born with any words. So how can you say you were born? You say, I was born, but you don't know, you can't remember your birth. And realise you didn't have any words till you were about 2.5, when the capacity of reasoning developed in you. And that capacity is a natural capacity that happens by itself, that capacity of reasoning. And you learn words. And so every word you've ever spoken or ever likely to speak has been picked up. You are not the word. And have a look at the words. And you realise the words are not the thing. Take the word water, try and drink the word. Take the word fire, try and cook with it. Does it burn your mouth? So you look into all these words and you see the words are not the thing. It tells you in the Bible, in the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, the Word was God. That's all that God is, a Word. All things were made by Him, by the Word, and isn't that so? All these things are words. There's words we put on everything. And there was nothing made that was made without the Word. But you see the Word, we put words on everything, and you realise the Word's not the thing. The map's not the territory. The description's not the described. So what I'm describing here now is not its description, but it points to where it is. So you've got to investigate, look along to the pointer and see for yourself, because nobody will ever do it for you. And when you look into it, you see it's quite much simpler than what you believe to be. You've taken on the idea that I am this body, mind. Well, investigate that. Because they say the false cannot stand up to investigation. And it's true when you look into it. Are you the body? Well, innately you already know you're not the body, because you say my body. Now if you're saying my body, that doesn't imply there's something that has a body, that's claiming the body as its own. The same with my mind. What's the body made up of if you think of the body? Investigate to see if it's so. And you realize this body is made up of elements. Air, earth, fire, water, space. Just the same as the elements around you. Now take the water out of your body. Can you live without that water? You can't. Take the air, stop breathing. You can't live without the air. The fire, the body temperature, you soon get hypothermia and die. Get off the earth if you can, get out of space. When you investigate, you see you're not separate from this body. And all those elements, the air, the earth, the fire, water, space, can be broken down into subatomic particles. Into pure space, to pure energy. So the body's just nothing but a vibrating pattern of energy, which we call the body. Same with this thing called mind. You believe you've got a mind? Well, show me a thing called mind if you can. Because again, you say my mind. And you look into it and investigate, you see there's no such thing as mind apart from thought. Because that's all that thought is mind. And what's mind? Words, sound, ideas. What's words, sounds and ideas? Vibration, a movement of energy. So it's all vibrating patterns of energy. And what's it all appearing? What's the basic screen in which everything appears in? Isn't it in space? What's space? Can you get yourself out of space right now? Can you find a centre to that space? Can you find any pinpoint where space begins? And you realise there's no beginning to space at all. Does it have any boundaries or have any barriers or any things on it at all? You can't go to the end of space. So it has no shape or form. What's the very first thing you see? What's the closest thing to your eyeballs? Most of you will say, oh, I see you, I see this. The closest thing to your eyeballs is that space. There it is right in front of you. You are the content of space. And every other thing in this manifestation is the content of space. Can you postulate or think of anything at all which can be outside of space? What would it be in? So then you might understand when they call it a space-like awareness. It's that awareness which is like space, and you are not unaware right now. Existence, consciousness, bliss, are you existing right now? Yeah. And you're not unaware or not unconscious. You're not, and you're happy to be. So you are already that, which we put the concepts on, take to believe to be the concepts. Now, if it's all that one essence that's vibrating, appearing, expressing as everything, it is absolute. Nothing can be added to the absolute. Nothing can be taken away from it. Or in Buddhism they call it the great perfection. The perfection or perfect is the same as absolute. If it's perfect, you can't add anything at all to it, nor can you take anything away from it. And they give it to you one sentence in Buddhism. The great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. You're not unaware right now, but there's all sorts of concepts, thoughts, ideas and images going on. Without those concepts, thoughts and ideas, it's non-conceptual and it's pure awareness. And the great mantra is, I am that. Tattvam. That is all there is. You are that, I am that, this is that. It's the one self, one Atman self. But we've taken it to be the personal self, the separate entity, the individual. And from that point, in that division, that's where all our suffering takes place. If you are the Absolute, who could ever be superior to you if nothing can be added to it? Who could ever be inferior to you if nothing can be taken away from it? And what would you need or want from anybody else if you are the Absolute? Everything would be available to you. But we've taken ourselves to be this separate entity, this person, and with that sense of a person, separation, comes insecurity and vulnerable. So we're taken away from our wholeness, our completeness. As the Buddha pointed out, it's a cognizing emptiness. All this emptiness, this vibrating pattern of energy is empty. And he made the statement that emptiness is form, pointing out that this cognizing emptiness is what's patterning, shaping, forming and expressing is all this manifestation. Emptiness is form, and he turned it round the eye and said the forms can be nothing other than the emptiness. Hard to believe, isn't it? You and I are forms that we are that emptiness already. And so we think we need to become something. We need to become realised. We got the idea that realisation will be a mighty explosion or something real. But it's just a recognition of your true nature. Recognising that you actually are already that. I am that. The great mantra is I am that. This is that. That's that. Everything is that. Innately you know that. Because you say, that's the chair I'm sitting in. That's the room the chair's in. That's the space in the room. That's the tree, the flower. Everything is that which we put words on. And we've all learnt words. You had no words when you were born. For the first couple of years of your life you had no words. So if you had no words, and all mind is word, you must realise that you are prior to the word. So you're prior to thought, you're prior to the mind, you're before the mind. But no, we believe we are this mind, this conceptual image. So we try to become realised or recognised, and it becomes an impossibility. Why haven't you become it? You tried hard enough. All intelligent people, and it hasn't worked. Might have just dawned on you. Maybe I've been looking in the wrong direction. And when you look into the scriptures, and they'll all tell you, if you look into the deepness, deep enough, that there is no such thing as mind. The mind's just a conceptual image. You are that perfection, you are that presence awareness. And that translates, people ask you who you are, you'll say, oh, I am Bob or Bill or Jane or whatever my name must be. You take that label that's been put on you instead of saying, I am the Absolute. And you can't go around telling everyone you're the Absolute. You are God, they'll put you in the funny farm. But know it yourself, know the truth. That's another basic saying, is know the truth and the truth will set you free. What are you free from? The only thing to be free from is to be free from the belief that you are separate. And you look in this manifestation, you'll see there's no such thing that is separate. Everything is interrelated and interdependent. There's no separation whatsoever. So that's what the investigation you need to do. See, I'm not this body, when you recognise it, I'm not this person, I'm not this individual. We've learnt all these words, and the words are not the thing. How does it work with us? Well, something comes up, and you like it. Shakespeare told you 400 years ago, there's nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. And you look into your minds and see how the thinking functions, and you'll see it's true. Thinking is a vibration, thoughts. How does it vibrate? Always in the interrelated opposites. And it's either good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating, positive, negative, high, low, slim, thin, wide, or narrow. Have a look at your mind and see if it functions any other way. So it's the thinking. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it? Ask yourself that question. When you have a look at it, what can you say without a thought? If you're able to let the thought go and not pick it up in the moment, you can't say it's neither good, bad, pleasant, painful, happy, sad, loving, hating. But have you disappeared without the thought? You haven't. You're still breathing, heart still beating, hair and fingernails still growing. The life is there. And Nisargadatta tells you, there is only life. There is nobody who lives a life. Nobody. This body is not living the life. The life is living this body, fashioning it, shaping, patterning it, forming it as it is. And he says life lives on life. And isn't that so? The food you're eating is life. If you're vegetation, is still life. We're living on life constantly. Nobody lives a life. Life lives on life, and out of life, more life comes. Where did you come from? You realise you came from the life of your parents. Out of that life that were your parents. And they came from the life that was their parents. Have a look at that. Go back and investigate that. That thing you call your father, that person you call your father. The life, the intelligence entity, the life that was patterning, shaping, forming that pattern. Enabled in that pattern through the breathing, the prana, the air, and the food he's eating. Enabled in that pattern a little microscopic particle called a sperm to form. Now that sperm was suffused with intelligence. The life was in it. It knew what to do. And the same with your mother. That animating life or intelligence energy in your mother enabled in that pattern another microscopic particle called an egg or an ovum to form. That egg or ovum was suffused with intelligence. It knew what to do. It attached itself to the wall of the uterus. And the sperm knew what to do. It swam to the ovum and penetrated the ovum. And the intelligence in those two coming together again through the prana and the breath and the life essence that was in your mother enabled those two to merge together, and a little embryo, a little fetus began to form. And it grew from there. And that's what you are today. What were you doing about it then? And you realise there wasn't a you that could do anything at all. There wasn't a you to have any words, and for the first couple of years of your life you had no words. So what must have been doing it? It was that animating life intelligence in the life itself was patterning, shaping, forming and experiencing, coming from out of life. And as Christ told you a couple of thousand years ago, and he says, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. People thought he was talking about himself. He wasn't. He was talking about that sense of presence, the knowing that you are. Everyone is aware of being present right now. How do you translate it? You'll say, I am. But you put the conceptual label on, I am Bill or Jane or Harry or whatever my name is, instead of saying, I am the reality. It's that sense of presence. Translations the thought, I am. So we got this concept, I am. We go to schools and they tell you your little Johnny or your little Billy, and you reinforce it yourself. And that's the reinforced belief that we constantly reinforce we think we are, to be this person, this mask. And how does that come up? And well, something comes up and you like it. Now you believe you are this separate entity. And the things you like, we want to keep. We don't want the things to go. Not realising that thought's a vibration, and it vibrates in the opposite. As the good is there, the bad or the opposite must come up. Everything is transient. There's nothing static at all. And it's transient all the time. This body that you believe you are in right now is transient. It's not the same body that walked into this room. Some of you at 10 o'clock, some of you before, some of you at 10:30. There are thousands of cells dying in it right at this moment and being replaced. So it's changing constantly. If you look back on it a few years ago, the change is more noticeable. But in the immediacy, there's very little notice of it. But yet it's transient. There's nothing static or constant about it at all. So something comes up, we like it, and we don't want the good things to go. Not realising no matter how much you love them, how much you want to keep it there or hang to them, no matter what you do, it's going to change. We don't want it to go, so we resist it from going. What's resistance? When you're resisting something, you're in conflict with it. You're fighting with it, you're at war with it. So we're at war with this thought. We don't want these good things to go, we want it to be good all the time. Not realising that creates more concepts, more ideas, and more images, and makes it worse. So that conflict makes you uneasy, fearful, angry, depressed, guilty, shameful, jealous, envy. That's all uneasiness. Another word for uneasiness is disease. So there's resistance, conflict, and disease going on in it. Something comes up and you don't like it. Oh, I shouldn't be thinking this thought. That's a terrible thought. You know, I'm a sinner. I shouldn't be have that one. I've got to get rid of it. So what do? We try to force it out. We try to resist it. We don't want these thoughts to hang around. So there's resistance again. Conflict and disease. Isn't that what our life's made up of? All this psychological conceptualization going on all the time. Good, bad, happy, painful, loving, hating, positive, negative. Hate, fear, anger, depression. All the time. And these things become more real than the parents, than the reality. And some of you, some of you mentioned today again, that they had tastes of it all through your life, when everything fell into place, dropped into place just naturally and effortlessly. And it was there, it was good. But no, that wasn't good enough. We go back into the conceptualising and think we're going to do better and worry about the next thought. But when you're with that thought-free, ever-fresh presence awareness, you couldn't say it was good or bad or pleasant. It was the natural state. So now you've had taste of it, and that's what, when you realise there's got to be more to it than all this stress that's going on all the time. For it's only me that can be fearful, only me that can be anxious, only me that can be depressed, jealous, envy, unhappy, sad. Me is the cause of all my psychological problems. And the effects are the fear, the sadness, the stress, the jealousy, the envy. They're all the effects of this cause me. What's cause and effect? Isn't that what we call karma? Cause and effect? What if I recognise this cause is a fiction? This me is a fiction. There's no substance in her. And ask myself the simple question, can there be an effect if I'm not relating to a cause? Well, you don't have to be a Rhodes Scholar to work that out. If you're not relating to a cause, where can the effect lodge? So you see, you recognise you can be free of this so-called karma and just by leaving everything as it is. Not as it was, not as you think it will be, but just as it is. What is wrong with what is right now if you don't think about it? You can't say it's good, bad, pleasant, painful. So me, this cause, this believed in me, is the cause of all my psychological karma, all my fears, my dreams. And see that, recognise, investigate and see that me is a fiction. What happens then? Well, do you disappear? Do you fall apart? You don't. But you're going to keep relating the conceptual image to the fear, to the anxiety and the stress. There will be a natural response to the thoughts that are useful, but the thoughts are no longer necessary. They'll be let go of. Why fixate on something that's not doing any good? They call it unfixated awareness. Be utterly awake, with the five senses wide open, where you're hearing, seeing, tasting, touching, smelling, feeling, thinking. The five senses open to each of them. You're not fixated into the one thing, sense to the exclusion of all the others. And if you're doing that, which we do mostly, you're fixating on the one thing, then you're not fully living. You're living from a particular. But if the senses are wide open, well, you're not only seeing, but you're hearing. As you're sitting here and now you're hearing this voice, you'll probably hear a car going by or some other noise. And something else, seeing, you'll be seeing things are moving and other things around you, sort of thing. You'll be tasting things in your mouth, touching and feeling. The senses will be open, not to the exclusion of fixating onto the one, to the exclusion of everything else. Then in that openness, there's a more natural and fullness of life expressing through. And you're not caged yourself up into the pattern of concepts. Poor me, or I can't do this, and I don't like that, and this is not good enough. And this Wei Wu Wei said here a couple of thousand years ago, why are you unhappy? Because everything you say, everything you think, and everything you do is for yourself. And he says there isn't one. And if you look on all the great texts, you'll see there isn't not a personal self. There is only the one self, the one Atman, the great perfection, the one self. The personal self is a conceptual image. And the great perfection is non-conceptual awareness. That's what you need to investigate. That's what needs to be looked into. And a little bit of investigation, you'll see it. And you know that already because you've investigated so many things you've taken to be real and seen that they're not real. Go down to the ocean, I'll say, get me a bucket of blue water out of the sea. You'll say, don't be an idiot, because you know the sea's not blue, but it doesn't stop it from appearing to be blue. It appears to be blue. The sky appears to be blue. No clouds in the sky, you'll see there's a blue canopy over it. Go up 30 or 40,000 feet in the plane. Is there blueness in the plane? It's not, it's always further out. Though it appears, the water in the mirage, the snake in the rope, all these other analogies they point out, the clouds obscuring the sun. They're pointing out the truth to you. Where people stood on the shore years ago and looked out where the sea and the sky met, they said, don't go out there, you'll fall off the edge of the earth. And people believed it. Who would believe these things today? No one. Why? Because they've been investigated. They've been looked into and recognised for what they are. How many of us have investigated ourselves? This person. We try to make this person better, whole. And already, in trying to make it whole and become whole, we cause more concepts, more ideas, and skew it more. Nisargadatta tells you nothing can trouble you except your own imagination. Now that's a damn fact when you investigate it. Take that word imagination, break it down to imagine, and then further to image in. We are imagining this, imagining that, imaging it in, creating mental or conceptual images and making it real. Without the image, what are you? You're unaware if you're not thinking at all. If you put thoughts pause for a moment, are you unaware when you're in deep sleep? Are you unaware? No, you're not. You're aware of your unawareness because you say, I slept well. That awareness, on that awareness comes the consciousness. And when the consciousness world appears, and it's a conceptual manifestation. They call it a phenomenal manifestation. And the dictionary definition of phenomena is that which appears to be. You are dreaming a dream, as Nisargadatta says, you call the world. And see, we imagine this, and imagine that's great mental images. Look in a mirror. What do you see in a mirror? You see reflections or images. Now you can't say they're not there. Go up and try and pull an image out of the mirror. You realise you can't. But you can't say it's not there because it appears to be there. But you can't say it is there because there's nothing there substantial that you can grasp. When you investigate yourself along these lines, you'll know the truth. And as they say, know the truth will set you free. The truth will set you free. Free of the belief. Look at your definition of your belief. The definition of belief is an unquestioned acceptance of something in the absence of reason means we've taken all these things for granted. We've never reasoned it out. Acceptance of an alleged fact. We've alleged it's right or wrong. People allege it's right. Without question. Accept that fact of an alleged fact without knowledge or proof, without looking into it. And when you investigate these things, if they're not the fact, they'll fall apart, which you know yourself in the things you have investigated. But this one, the belief in the person, we take to be real. Have a look out there in nature. You see the earth rolling around the sun, seasons are coming and going, tides coming in and out, volcanoes imploding, exploding, tsunamis, droughts, floods, fires, stars, planets forming. Everything is vibrating, going on in nature. And go back to yourself and realise that same life essence that's breathing you, it's beating your heart, growing your hair in your fingernails, digesting your food, replacing cells in your body. Everything is that life essence. Life essence goes out of that body. What do you got? You got a corpse. Before that corpse rots, still got eyes, still got ears, still got heart, lungs, liver, brain. All the organs are there, but what good are they without that element life? Not a bit of good at all. So what are you? Are you the body? Are you the mind? Or are you the life itself? Your computer's a good analogy for that. You've got a computer there with an amazing lot of information, good information, been formed by these human forms, put all this information to it, but you can punch those keys over as much as you like and run that mouse up and down. What are you going to get out of it if the power's not turned on? Nothing whatsoever. So the same without the body, life in the body, you're not a bit of good without the power. And it's that same power, that same energy that everything is. And you are that. Recognise it, recognise it, the cognising empties, and live as that, which is what you are. And notice the difference. Notice how it's spontaneous, things spontaneously come up. And you don't know what your next thought is. But you say, I think. Realise as soon as you say, I think, what have you done? You formed a thinker, a subject. Me, I think. I've become the subject. I'm thinking this thought. And the thought has become the object, whatever the thought might be. So subject-object to duality. I moved away from the one into the dualistic. But can there a thinker be a thinker without thinking? You look into that and realise there can't be a thinker without thinking. And can there be the thought without thinking? There can't be the thought without thinking. So the subject, object, thinker and thought are concepts. But the thinking is a vibrating intelligence energy. That's all the thought is, a vibration, a movement of energy. Same with the seeing, the hearing, the tasting, the touching, the feeling, the smelling. The ing is something that's happening right in the immediacy of this moment. Isn't that so? Have a look. You're seeing right now, you're hearing right now. You say, I see, I think, I feel. You're relating to a past event, me, a dead image. So we lose track of it. We get bound into the concepts of time and the concepts of belief that I am this person that needs to become something. Becoming, have a look at that one. You call yourself a human being. If you believe in God, you'll call God the Supreme Being. What happens if you cancel out that word human, cancel out that word supreme? Try and separate your beingness right now and try and tell me you are not. You'll know. You can't say you are not being. You can say it, yeah, but the very saying of it, doesn't that say the fact that there's something there that's enabling it to be said? Could it be said if there wasn't that life or word there to enable it to be said? Not the person saying. The person can never become anything, because becoming implies a future time. When you look into time, you'll see time is a mental concept also. Is there a past if I don't think about it? Can you say there's a past or a future without a thought? You can't. But you'll try and tell me I was in the past. Well, I'll say try and live yesterday. Try and go back and live last week, or last year, or even a moment ago. You can't go back and live a moment ago unless there's some thought there. The same with the future. You can't anticipate or imagine a future. There's only this now, this immediacy, this spontaneous life essence that's always ever fresh and ever new. So these are the things we need to look at and see for yourself. If you've got any doubts, any questions, some of you know this already. Some of you have been coming here a while, and they might put it, don't hesitate to get up and tell us about it. They might put it in different words. It might be easy from the words I use. And some of you might have questions and be frightened of answering. What will they think of me if I ask this question? And you refuse to answer because you're fearful of what somebody might think. See the bondage? That does not necessarily be there. When, if you are absolute, and everything is absolute, know that there's nobody that can be superior to you. Nobody can be inferior to you. If you are that. So, what are you going to be fearful about? So anyway, get into it. Hang on.
Here, you have your ears.
Thank you.
And we have 30 people with us who are online, and I have a set of questions from Santi from Singapore. She's asking first, the fastest way to enlightenment, as we don't have years to get through. So would you like to answer the fastest way to enlightenment?
You are that.
Recognize that it is already here. I would usually ask the helping question, what is enlightenment for you? Because some people believe that this is some sort of a superior state when you are in constant ecstasy or orgasm. That is totally impossible, because the brain has the serotonin shock prevention system, which will just make you die.
That's not quite as fast as what I said.
You're right, yeah, absolutely. What we're pointing here is recognize that natural state, which some people call enlightenment, we call it natural state, is already present underneath the chatter and urge to achieve something or get somewhere. For some people, enlightenment is a state where everything is flooded in the light of awareness or knowing, and see what you don't know. It's even the knowing about the not knowing. Enlightenment for others is the lightness, living lightly, just cruising through life like the animals, the birds, singing and hiding from the rain, just being totally natural in the flow. And that's, again, see how often it's already happening when there is no self-sabotaging narrative on top of it. So that was first question, fastest way to enlightenment, recognize this already here, you already that. Number 2 question, the presence is the most important to achieving that, or the state of mind? Is the present or is the state of mind to achieve? First of all, you can't achieve what is already present. You can just see what's obscuring it, and that's the mind. So the presence is already here, you're already present. And to realize it, you just see that the mind is telling you that you are not present, that you have to become present. That's not true. You have to be present to even believe that you are not present.
Have a look at that word presence too. Break it down to pre-sense. Before the senses come in and say it's this, that and the other. What's wrong with this spontaneous moment right now? Quick.
Yep. And question number 3, how do we get to the state of the middle ground? Again, the question, who is to get where? I hope, Santi, you listened. I actually answered that question to listen with the heart, because what Bob is saying is to resonate with that deepest innate wisdom that everybody has already, because everybody was born baby without the mind language constructing the narrative. So on the deepest level, we all already know the obviousness of existence. We don't have to achieve it in any ways. How do we get to the state? It isn't really a state. It is, like Bob was saying, pre-sense. Before the mind with its overlay of interpretation comes into the picture, that is already there, the natural so-called middle ground. At question number 4, there's 6 of them, so I'll read them fast so we can go to the... what is the simple practice that will deliver, as there are so many rituals and ways out there for busy people to do on a daily basis? And I just say that, Santi, thank you for asking all those questions, because there are a lot of people who share those questions. They would like the answers to it as well. Practice, simple practice.
Full stop.
Full
period.
stop, yeah.
Don't go there.
Yeah, yeah. Don't go to the mind. Look who's looking. Rituals, no, you don't really need any practice or ritual. Assume that there is someone who is to achieve something. And if there is no one there, and this is already it. So obviously the practice is...
That's why you need to recognise and have a look and see time is spontaneous. You've got to practice, you think there's time to attain something.
In future, of course. Yeah, attainment is always... Practice is telling you that you are not it. And in the future maybe you will become. And future is conceptual, is imagined. What's experienced is only now. Question number 5. So the short question, Bob said it was full stop. Just see what's happening when you're not thinking. 5, manifestation. Please advise how to be masters of it. How to be a master of manifestation.
Because if the manifestation wasn't there, who would there be that could be master of it?
Yeah.
If everything appears as the content of space.
I think the question is a little bit different. It's about that sort of a human feeling incomplete and unworthy and wanting to add to itself. If I am human and I'm deficient, I need more money, I need relationships, I need achievements, I need people's approval, I need to be admired, so I'll manifest it, meaning I will just create that out in the world. But as the life essence, you totally are already the source from which everything is manifested. Just as a human, you need to change things because you don't see the perfection. But if you relax that belief in being human, you see that nothing really needing to be any different than it is. So you are as life, the master of manifestation, and you don't need to change a thing. A hair on that bald head. It's perfect. And
Be careful for what you wish for.
yeah. I posted
Lowbrow.
I posted a picture yesterday on the Facebook with a nice little wig and eyebrows are growing too. Question 6. Do we need a guru? And how do we know who is it when we meet them? Or do we search for them? Do we need the guru?
Guru is the inner essence, what they call the inner essence. The innate intelligence has got you looking a little bit further right now. It's brought you into existence, it's living you. It'll take you where you've got to go if there's an openness to it. If we shut ourselves off from the so-called sunlight of the spirit, well, we suffer.
Yeah.
And the innate spiritual essence that you are is there in its fullness and its openness. Just is.
And if for some reason you are conditioned in a way that you learn faster perhaps, or you need some instrumental being in your life who will be telling you what you already know, so it resonates, and life will present the situation in which that will be the case. You can trust life fully. And that was the last of the question. And if you don't feel that the answers were enough, I'll just remind you and everyone here that on Bob's website, silorbobadamson.com, there is an email address. You can always pop Bob an email and schedule a Skype session or individual session. The email is the most sure way of doing it. And have the questions addressed individually.
Who was that?
That was Santi from Singapore. So from Singapore, obviously, Skype will be the solution. But yeah, the possibility is there. Use it. And we have few more welcome messages, and we have a question from Tanya. There is a belief here that a certain amount of calories should be burned by exercising every day. I sort of know this is not true, but there is still belief in it. This means I'm still believing in a concept of a separate entity. Any pointers for seeing through those two beliefs? Surprisingly, Tanya didn't answer her own question today yet. Maybe the answer is...
Tanya already knows it.
She knows that, yeah, as Bob says, Tanya, you know that. You know, that belief, some people believe that you have to say the prayer, God our Father, twice a day. And if not, then what? Well, have a look. If you have to burn certain amount of calories and you don't, what happens? Yeah, that's as easy as that. And does it mean if that thought comes up, doesn't mean that there is a belief in a separate entity? Well, you tell me, does it really? The appearance of the thought doesn't mean anything unless you give it a meaning. But I think Amarnath answered that question saying, beautiful see the seer, when seer comes into the scene, both are lost. There is only I am, not I am the body, or I am the mind, or thought, or word. And Amarnath says to Shanti instead of Santi, your name itself means peace, supreme, universal peace, undisturbed, fast and slow in the time. You are timeless, spaceless, causeless intelligence. And he says, thanks a million cat, unborn mind everyone has. We frequently forget that. Manifestation is a trap, says Vivek. No need to be a master. And Ram says, love this. Don't be scared to ask Bob. Ask questions. I'm a consciousness is our guru as well as a disciple too. That says Amarnath. It is both internal and external. And thank you. Now we open the forum for everyone to jump in, ask questions, share. That was it for the online contribution for now. It may come later, but anyone? Gina, oh no, you're rising glass. Oh yeah, go on.
So, thanks for having me here today.
We have to speak up a bit.
Yeah. So when I investigate, the self just goes away. But when I investigate, the self just goes away.
Well, have you when you investigated, did you ever find a self?
No.
Well, how can it go away? It wasn't there.
Yeah.
Not even there. It's
Yes.
a conditioned belief we've taken on. When you question that belief, it falls away. Yeah. But in not being there, have you disappeared?
No.
So you are that Atman self.
Yeah.
Right.
But then, like, after, let's say, a couple hours, I find myself suffering again.
Yeah. Well, investigate again.
Okay.
You see, to have it so habitual and so seeming solid that it is, that belief in the self-centre, we reinforce it every day from the time we were little children.
Yep.
Our school, society and everybody else, and we constantly reinforcing it ourselves.
Yep.
So naturally, it'll bob up again for a little while. But get the taste of it, recognise again and again when you look at it, there's nothing there.
Yep.
It's going to fall away, disappear.
Yep. So, should I just keep doing that, yeah?
Just relaxing into the presence awareness. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, thanks for the great talk. When I'm meditating, there's all sorts of distractions and things which obviously take me away from sort of just awareness. There's also some lines of sort of thinking or inquiry which seem to take me closer to a more peaceful sort of state. Is there ways to kind of recognise where the attention should be encouraged to stay?
Well, if you're going into the concepts, you're making up another story, aren't you? But if you full stop it right now and just sit with it, see the story disappears. See what's there when the stillness and silence comes about. What's wrong with right now if you don't think about it?
Yeah, it's nothing. It's just is. Yeah.
But the thoughts will come up. See? And the thoughts, being strong, they'll go on and go on instead of just being a pure thought. It'll go into the story, create more thoughts, more words, and away we go. But bring it back to just this pure presence. What's wrong with right now? Right now. When is right now? Spontaneously now. It's not duration. No time. It wasn't now 5 minutes or 10 minutes ago. It was then. That's then now. It's only now. Now is beginning right now and ending right now. No duration. Anything wrong with that?
Not at all.
Well, let it be the place to sit with it.
Can you think yourself into that state?
No.
As Shakespeare told you 400 years ago, nothing either good or bad, but thinking makes it so. Stop thinking. Stop talking and thinking, as it says in the ancient meaning, there's nothing you'll not be able to know. The greatest words, the way is beyond language, friends. There's no yesterday, no tomorrow, and no today. These are seeming impossible things to us when we've been locked into the belief for so long. But it's the ease of being, or being at ease.
But it is also good to see how thinking takes you away from that natural peaceful state. So if you see that thinking is that which obscures it, and you are totally in love with that peace that passes all understanding, your heart is with it, with that beautiful, peaceful love for life, and not with the thinking, then perhaps it naturally brings even more hearts, and naturally will draw you more into that peace. If it is really clear that thoughts are the ones that obscure, seemingly obscure, because that stillness, that peace is always there. It's just, the surface of the ocean is a little bit shaken, but the depth is always peaceful. But then your heart is with the depth and not with the surface. And then the thought will come, Whatever the thought, you can scare yourself with very easily, taking up future. Oh, what's going to happen when I can't walk anymore? Or what if I lose a job? Or if this or that? Easy, or Putin pushes the button, or whatever. I mean, there's 1,000 versions of scaring oneself if the belief goes there. But if you don't attend to those thoughts, because you clearly see that they are taking away your love, that where the heart is, the love for life, the being, the peace, then of course, you gravitate naturally away from the thinking, and you laugh at them. There is no thought that we sometimes sit and laugh at some ideas that we used to perhaps be scared or used to consider threatening. Today, we know them for what they are. They're ideas. They have zero power, absolutely nothing. If anything, they're cute, they're funny, they're sweet, they're ridiculous, but not threatening. They don't cause any suffering. Because the love for the truth and the love for being, the peace underlying the thoughts is what's more attractive, is home. This is home.
Do you just observe the thoughts, like the negative thoughts?
Yeah, well, say it to the mic.
Do you just observe the negative thoughts? Is that the best way to deal with it?
Yeah, without touching them. Yeah, without altering, fixing them, modifying them. If the thought comes, let's say, whatever, negative thoughts, I don't like someone, or someone doesn't like me, or I don't like me. If you can find the place from which that thought is completely impersonal, that is just a line of words or line of sounds and nothing else. Because what happens when I used to believe that I was unworthy or I was inferior, that it would come with emotional baggage, with a stress, with the cortisol running through the body, with clenching, with the whole world supporting that idea because it was believed. So it isn't really watching the thought, it isn't an awareness of the thought, it is complete full subscription. It is taking on that as a religion, as the truth. So that's not watching the thought.
There's observing. When you say, I observe, you form the observer and the observing.
Observing, not the observer, not a witness,
Don't
but the
claim-
witnessing.
Don't claim it as I'm observing. You are seeing right now. And you say, I see. As soon as you say, I see, you put the belief on that you, as the seeming person, is seeing. Same with observing. You say, I observe. But observing is a natural, spontaneous function. Living is going on. Before it's divided into subject-object. Subject-object thinking are relative. Relationship. All problems are problems of relationship. Relative to duality.
Hi. Where would you... Sorry, I'm thinking about ambition and plans and things like that. Where... It's one thing to be now, but where do plans come in, or ambition, or, having wanting to construct something that's not happening right at this minute? It's something that you want to appear later. Like building a house or saving money for a project, or having an ambition to do something, build wells in Ethiopia, I don't know, anything. Where does that fit in within this?
Well,
Great.
it comes up right now, this ambition, that you've got to do this and save for it, or whatever, make plans or whatever. Will you do that? See when it comes up. Do what you can do in the moment.
Okay, but it requires is thinking about the future.
Yes.
Yeah.
Sorry. Is this actually working? Oops.
It is working. It's just working for people who are with us online.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was more like I felt like I was to actually have an ambition is taking myself out of the moment and putting me in the future, which is not what we're encouraged is what we're encouraged to avoid. So I just wanted a bit more clarity on where ambition fits in, or plans, or the future projects and things like that, because just waking up in the morning and letting the day pass, doing it moment by moment, is not going to get the job done, if you like. So
maybe it is.
Maybe it is if you just let it be.
Yeah.
You find that the ambition might naturally be there. Doing planning might naturally occur.
Well, that's what I mean. You've got to have the thought first. Nothing's created without the word.
But you can't create that thought, can you? It's like your questions suggest that you have some sort of maybe a little bit of a belief that it is up to you.
Well, you're right. What it is there is...
that there is a you who can choose to be ambitious, who can choose to plan, or who can choose to not plan.
Yeah.
But if there is no you,
Yeah.
thought of future appears and disappears.
Yeah.
Acting on it appears and disappears.
Yeah.
And everything, just like you see in nature,
Yeah.
the bear will be getting fat for the winter.
Yeah.
It doesn't need the thought about it.
Yeah.
It is just something that spontaneously shows up in the moment. It's a great question. It's good to address it.
Collecting the acorns.
Yes.
Squirrel collecting the
Squirrel, yes, and burying them and planting forests. The squirrel, or
yeah, I sort of understand that, but it's almost like when
you think you can choose to plan or not plan.
No, I'm thinking that there's nothing. There's only today happening, and it's like I feel that there's no fulfillment, because there's no. I'm not. I'm not creating something. It's almost like a sort of.
That's a silly thought in itself.
But you know,
Yeah.
Give me some feedback. Yeah.
Yeah, Bob wanted to say something. Bob, go on.
well, you know that it's all spontaneous,
Uh-huh.
spontaneous moment, and all different concepts, ideas, and images come up in that spontaneous moment.
Yeah.
It's constantly transient.
Yeah, but for a few years now, there's nothing coming up, and I feel like I'm in this state of inertia.
Because you have a concept that it should be different, right? That you should be creative and achieving, and this is not happening. So that thought that should be something else than inertia makes you unhappy.
Yes, it does, because I am I've always been a creative person, and that's not even being expressed. It's like there's a depression in there somewhere.
Yes.
And I'm not on top of it. I feel like it's not going away. And
But can you see that this is not lack of creativity that makes you depressed, but the idea that you should be creative?
That's right.
Because if that idea is not there, then whether you're creative or you're not creative, you're free and you're happy to be. Now, from that happy state, creativity is much more likely to appear.
Yeah, but there is no happy state.
Exactly, because of the idea that as you are right now, not creative, this is wrong, it shouldn't be this way.
Well, there's not anything. There's only I want to sleep.
Yes.
There's nothing to get up for. There's nothing. It's just like a nothingness. And I'm trying to not let it bother me. But every now and again,
of course.
I just had another birthday, which means I'm another year old. Well, not another. I've had another birthday, which means I'm not getting younger.
That's right.
And so.
That's all in the story.
Yeah.
It's all in the story about
Yeah. Well,
but-
that's
but-
what I'm
but
having
when-
difficulty with now.
Yes.
even when you're thinking that,
Mm.
there might be things you've got to do, you'll be doing towards it.
Yeah.
You'll be doing other things besides thinking.
Yeah. Well, it's like I just was explaining to somebody. I reached the,
Oh.
and I've raised my kids. I'm,
Mm.
you know, widowed, so I don't have a partner. My mother's not needing anybody caring for her. All my kids have grown up, and there's like
You're bored.
I'm yes. I just there's
Yeah.
no fulfillment
Mhm.
in my life, and just practicing
Mm-hmm.
or
You'd be worrying about raising your kids when you were raising them. But they're raised now.
yeah, I'm not
All that worry
Yeah.
and concern
yeah.
was unnecessary. You still did what was needed to be done.
Yeah. Well, I'm
And
happy
it-
that it's
Been
done.
and been in a lot of tight spots, but you've got
It's
come
just
through.
like, well, what now? What now? You
Yeah.
know, I'm not even enjoying not doing anything.
Mm.
That's the point.
we'll be open and see what comes up. Something will come up.
You may be moved to do some service, you know.
Yeah.
See if you find that place, that spot, that contentment in just being. Wonderful ideas come up from that.
Yeah.
Providing a service, caring, not necessarily for your parents, for someone else, for a homeless dog
Oh, no,
or
I
for a
don't really
neighbor.
want- yeah,
or-
no, I'm fed up with caring for things. I want to do something that fulfills me,
Mm.
and whether
Do you want the thing that you do you want it to be based in fear? Because that's what it would be at the moment. See, if you acted on the fear that you're not doing anything, then that you do would be based in fear, wouldn't it?
The wanting to do something is to actually avoid feeling like there's no point to my life.
Yeah, so if you tried to solve that problem, then you would be all the fear there is, wouldn't you?
Well, this is why I'm asked. This is
So
why
just relax, wait, and let something else happen.
And what I'm saying is that,
Yeah.
like, after 2 or 3 years of doing that, nothing is inspiring me.
Maybe it's nice to one more moment.
Yeah, and that's
True
what it's
moment.
like, and
Yeah.
it's.
A true moment.
And
of
I just
awakening.
wondered.
You've been asked to do something completely different, if you like,
Yeah.
which is just go
Yeah.
and just breathe out all that fear for once and for all, perhaps.
Yeah. Interesting.
Now, coming to the
Okay.
moment, everything after the present moment is the action of the mind. The action of the mind is just all the restlessness, all the pain and suffering that is,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah,
That's what the
yeah.
mind is, and that's what you're doing right now, in this entertainment of
Yeah,
this
I'm
silly
suffering.
idea.
I am. I'm suffering because my
Yeah,
mind's telling
yeah,
me
you are.
time's running out.
You
and
are.
you're just wasting it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're suffering because of the entertainment of the idea, but you don't actually think that idea all the time, do you? It's very rarely that it's actually in your mind.
What's in my mind?
Of the idea that this idea that you're wasting your time, that you're not
It's
being creative,
constant.
and
It's
so on.
constant.
I doubt it very much.
Well, when I say it's
Well,
like
yeah.
I'm even talking about it. You know, it's not. It doesn't go away. Anyway, sorry. I
Yeah, I
feel
wouldn't
you.
mind
I
just
don't mean to put you on the
just,
spot. I love it.
Do it. I
Thanks for
need the
raising question.
feedback.
It's great.
I need the feedback.
well, I
You are
think
full of shit. We're going too far.
I think like also just seeing that there's a drive for meaning, seeing that that's a part of the one is okay. Just realize that it's coming from the no thing. So if it's arising from the no thing, acting on it can happen. Just don't there's no need to identify with the one that's acting. So if there's this intuition that there's this I need to do something to express meaning in your life, then allow it to happen. Follow it. Just don't identify with the one doing it. Or I'm a good person because I'm helping these people.
No, I
You know?
totally no, and I've been through all those things. That's why I say I could find something to do to satisfy it, but it won't be fulfilling
Yeah.
because it's not come from that.
Yeah. Like
that
I'll just give an example in my own life. Like, so I'm like working in neuroscience research right now, and a couple of years ago I would have never imagined that's something I would have fallen into. By doing the work of recognizing what I am and allowing things to happen organically, despite my likes and dislikes,
Yeah,
I've ended up in something that's extremely meaningful to me.
right.
And if it wasn't meaningful to me, that'd be okay too, right? So you can go to a place where there's meaning, and And as humans, we search for meaning.
Yes.
We seek for meaning.
Yeah, yeah.
And that too happens from this place of the ultimate.
Yeah.
And we're all here because this is what gives us meaning. Right? So meaning is okay. It's a good thing. Just don't there's just no need to, and you're obviously here, so you're hearing this. There's just no need to identify with the one that's doing the things to achieve meaning. Just recognize that's happening too, right? That's just a happening. So the meaning's okay, and you searching for to achieve the meaning, you may find something, oh, this provides me with a little bit of meaning, but it hasn't quite hit the spot. That too can be recognized. The dissatisfaction of not achieving meaning can be recognized. And then it will all unfold. It'll all unfold from that place.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing or just knowing that it's something that I can consider, that that desire to want to have fulfillment is not contrary to what we're
it's all
trying to.
It's all a part of the one. And
Thank you.
what is desire? Desire is just a sensation, just like thought. Thought is just a sensation.
Yeah.
So none of them are good or bad. It just is. It's all a part of the one.
Yeah. Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
Thank you.
I was going to say, firstly, I've been through a lot of this stuff, and firstly, some stuckness is actually okay. Like, stuckness for me was sort of part of the journey, and it's where the judgment comes in, saying I shouldn't be feeling this way or I shouldn't be stuck. Like, I find if I stay with this investigation, everything moves on its own, everything shifts on its own. And a lot of the suffering and struggle was almost by design coming up for me to actually turn away from it, to look a bit deeper. Like, the suffering was coming up as a pointer to go back and turn away from it and sort of look a bit deeper below what is suffering. And the pain comes in is that identity, that seeing that that identity is invested in these different situations for it to be happy. Like, this identity saying I need this in my life, or this needs to be in my life for this thing to be happy. But it's actually investigating that identity that is looking for happiness in those situations to be there as a false construction. The identity itself that is unhappy is a fiction, and so it's it's very tricky. And a lot of my, how dark it is before the dawn sometimes with a lot of this stuff. A lot of my breakthroughs came on on the back of significant suffering from the separate identity and ego, and then it just snapped on its own a little bit, and then it's all been part of the unfolding for me, a lot of this stuff. But it was really that identity that says I need a girlfriend to be happy, or I need this to be happy. It was like, really, well, I'm just saying with your kids, but that ambition as well, that's a natural longing, I think, that is coming up from the beingness itself. And then this sort of tries to sort of latch onto it, and like,
I understood the pursuit of happiness is a fiction also. So it wasn't about. It's not about trying to find happiness. It's really like just a God-given desire for fulfillment.
Yeah.
And whatever that comes in, I'm open. Like you say, it doesn't have to look like anything. In fact, my prayer is, show it to me, no matter how it looks. And I'm willing. It's just that
it'll keep pushing through, I think. It'll keep pushing through.
Yeah. But just knowing, just you saying that that's okay, it has really helped me.
It's all okay.
May I? Thank you. I have to smile because I love your question. I love what you said, and I can totally relate to it. And for me, I love it when Bob once said to me, just sit there and try doing nothing. And I do that a lot. I love it. I sit there because I'm like, I should do this and this and this, and maybe if I do this, blah, 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 and I just, nothing. Yeah. And I sit there and do nothing, and I was just thinking about it while you were talking, and then suddenly I'm up vacuuming. Yeah. And I don't want to vacuum, and I don't want to clean the house. Why am I doing this? And it's like, because I've got to enjoy it. But I laugh at it, you know? So I still do that today, and I'm ever so grateful for Bob for saying that. Try sitting there doing nothing.
Yeah.
And I do, and I have some days where I sit there and I absolutely do nothing. I go, oh, well, that was a nice day.
All your pain and suffering is just in the ideas you hold, that's all.
Yeah, and I get that too.
So you've got an idea which is causing you pain and suffering. Right? That's your mind working simply to cause you pain and suffering.
I totally feel validated that it's okay to want a fulfillment. And that's valuable to me. It's not in conflict with what this is all about.
Where does your fulfillment lie, though?
But the thing that is causing me pain is the when. That's what I just identified. It's because it's not happening now, and I'm impatient because I feel almost like I'm going. The lack of fulfillment in my life is causing such a. Let's call it a depression. No, it's causing a depression that's giving me no impetus to get out of bed. It's a hard thing to do anything but sleep nowadays. And, you know, I'll leave it there. But the point is, that's my pain now, is that there's...
Byron Katie. Yeah, Byron
Yeah,
Katie.
yeah.
She had a similar experience, if you like. Maybe you're the next Byron Katie.
Oh, praise God.
Just let it happen, let it be. Dive into the middle of it. That's what all you can do, really, isn't it? Just dive into the middle of it. Be there.
Yeah.
You know, here's a whole bunch of energy just for you. Bubble.
Yeah.
Go for it. Be there, right in the midst of your experience, and let it all just kill you if you like. Why not?
Wow.
And then you might discover something else, a different quality in that, in the nowness of that, whatever it is going on. Just bring yourself totally to that, and stop standing just aside from it and trying to solve the problem of it. Just come directly into it right now. Can you do that? Can you do it right now? And just be it now. Bang. And that'll solve your problem. Because there is no problems to solve. You see, the separate self is just that thing which is just engaged in solving a problem. So whenever you're solving a problem, just dive into the middle of it. That's the answer. I think you should.
But here's, sorry, I just want to say, but here's the irony though. Pete, right? It's Pete.
Yeah.
You're trying to solve her problem, right?
No, I'm not.
Well then, what do you do?
I'm just full of energy. That's
But this, like, it's all, you know, it's all one. It's fine that she's feeling this way, and it's fine that we.
Yes, it is. Definitely,
you know,
it's fine that she feels that way.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Just dive into the middle of it.
Yeah.
Just be there.
Thank you.
What's your name?
Gina.
Gina. Thank you for sharing that, Gina. I mean, I can really relate as a woman, and having brought up a child and, you know, feeling a lack of identity after she grew up and moved out, and I had put my career on hold, and then feeling very stuck afterwards, and feeling, where is my purpose? What is this all about?
Yeah.
And it's kind of, I got caught up in my fear.
Yeah.
And I felt too, having always had this drive, ambition to achieve externally in the world, and having to kind of really depreciate that, having a child, this other identity, you can become quite stuck, and it's a kind of fear-based thinking, and you know, it's thinking all the time. It's that overthinking, and that kind of causes you to be stuck.
Well, it's also you've habituated your brain into a cycle of behaviour and thought that you actually are almost stuck in until a new set of behaviour comes in, and that's what I've lost. I don't have a purpose to get up anymore. I'm still trying to unhook from the let's say the record groove is stuck in caring for people and looking after the house and having a purpose there, and there's another record's not been put on, or there's, I don't know, that's the only analogy I can think of, is I'm still running on the old tape, but the function's gone, but the tape's still running, and practicing, you know, learning what I'm learning and detaching from that. That's great, but I still have this desire to have a meaning in my life. I want one. Yeah.
I haven't finished.
Give him
Can I just?
Sorry.
That's all right. But when you start overthinking, you're kind of grasping,
Yeah.
and that's the place that it's kind of futile to grasp.
Yeah.
I guess what Bob is saying is, if you relax,
Yeah.
just relax
Yeah.
into the energy of what you're feeling.
Yeah.
That's a sure way of like kind of guaranteed way of getting out of the stuckness, because you're just allowing everything to happen then.
Thank you.
Get out of your mind
Yeah.
if you can.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stop grasping
Yeah.
if you can.
Yeah.
Relax.
Yeah.
Breathe.
Yeah.
Just
Stop grasping is a good one.
Just
it's okay to
allow
have it.
yourself to feel
Stop
it's
grasping.
okay, I feel this way.
Yeah.
It will pass. Let it pass.
Yeah.
There's no time on this. This could take 10 years, depending on you. If you can relax, I guarantee it will happen. It can happen instantaneous, the
Yeah.
change,
Yeah.
instantaneously.
Yeah. That's.
You don't have to do anything.
Yeah.
Just relax.
Yeah. Okay.
Contradictory, isn't it? You don't have to do anything, but you have to relax.
Yeah. The fear is I don't feel like I have lots of time left. You know, because. Anyway, I don't want to take more opportunities up.
I don't want to
of
put
other
any more
people.
information in the space, to kind of overload. But I relate. I came to Bob when my parents had died, and it seemed like who I thought I wasn't there anymore.
Right.
So the search for meaning, I completely relate to that. And what this whole time of being here has been about is really acutely seeing who that is, who those characters were, and who their perspective was.
Right.
And unhooking from that has just been a natural progression, because I can see that I'm not that. That's who I've attached myself through, and then from that reference point, as Bob says, I perceive a reality or a seeming reality.
Yeah.
But if I see that I'm not that,
Yeah.
but I see that that's what I think I am. So to say it's not there is,
Yeah.
it never helped me, because I needed to see precisely who I think that person is,
Yeah.
to then see its world,
Yeah.
and as I suppose was said earlier, find some compassion for it,
Yeah.
sort of a bit of understanding, and something, I don't know, in my case, it's like when I've unhooked from that perception, it's like some other remembering has come through, some other forgotten aspects, or the perspective's been broadened, or the lens has been cleared. So and then my heart becomes more alive. I can feel more.
Yeah.
Because if I'm attached to miserable tasks, I don't necessarily feel.
Yeah.
But if I see that I'm not that,
Yeah.
then something else kind of just naturally occurs, and it sort of inhabits seemingly the body, and the body then takes action. The body then finds a way back into sort of free motion, and then holds on to things that have meaning. It just naturally occurs. But I don't want to say that it hasn't been, as Adrian said, it's a rough, the struggle has been part of it. To see just how painful it is has been part of it. So I don't want to take that away from you.
Oh, thank you. No, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, miserable Tess.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'd just like to say bereavement and grieving are very, very strong and sticky kind of places for the mind to go.
Yeah.
And one of the things that it kind of tends to have a pattern of doing is it removes your motivation. Like the things that are very meaningful to you have gone. And it's a process to replace that, particularly with someone who maybe is the closest to you that you've ever let anyone into your life, and then they go.
Yeah.
It leaves a big hole, and I think it's really important to kind of understand that there's a hell of a lot of learning from that abrupt transition, because it can make you question everything, including what's next. And your thoughts of your own mortality come right to the fore. You feel like the clock's running.
Exactly. So I'm at the top of my tree now. My mum's dead. All the older, my
You also find that
generation above's gone now.
you know, you become much more tuned in to mortality, and you start seeing people dying all around you.
Exactly.
Like, you know, it's sort of like seems to be that, you know, sort of like relatives, friends, or whatever. Like, you become much more aware
Exactly. And
of
that's
that.
what.
And it's kind of very hard to get feeling of life purpose.
That's right. And that's what.
When you're in that sort of like on that precipice.
Yeah.
But it's also a jumping off point to, you know, if anything's going to get rid of this person, you know, imminent death is a really powerful medicine.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, Doris.
Yeah, we nearly at the end of our time, so I have few contributions from people who are watching with us online. And there is Amarnath saying that this is the mystery of imagination, that it seems to be not real. You may be celibate or married, a monk or family man, that is not the point. You are a slave of your imagination, or are you not? Whatever decision you take, whatever work you do, it will be inevitably based on imagination, an assumption parading as fact. This was a quote from Nisargadatta Maharaj. And he also says, thoughts are as they are shadows of reflections of self. They are not good or bad. Labeling itself is thought extension. And British Julia says, planning happens, no planner. Bob and Kat sorted some confusion here out this week. Jump on a line with Bob. Amarnath says, now itself is past and future, so planning and ambition might happen in presence without planner or doer. We want to fix past and future in present, which is only fun game of drinking mirage water. Siddharth says, all this is just egoic worry about why it should question its reality. Staying in the present awareness and relaxing the I should and I shouldn't will automatically bring about more creation and drive and ambition towards a goal that's more effortlessly aligned with an impersonal purpose of life. And JB says, thinking or narrative appears to happen after the reality of the immediacy of present nowness and tries to claim that it is what is doing everything. This is one reason Bob sometimes says pre-sense. Sense, what is prior to that egoic commentary. All narrative thinker really is a story about what just happened prior to any commentary or narrative or whatever you want, name it, ego, etc. Amarnath says, lessons from planning and ambition that we are eternal, ever-present presence. Vivek says, personal ambitions, goals will move you away from self-reality. Amarnath says, fear is fixation of past and future in present. Tanya says, nothing bad happens if certain amount of calories aren't burned. That is a thought. Yeah, beautiful. That's a great insight, isn't it? Very freeing. Because believing that you need to do something, see what happens if you don't. Believing that you need to believe certain set of thoughts, which you call meaning, that's a prison. Needing or searching or desiring pleasure, fulfillment, that's all love. That's love for the self in the costume of a body. But believing that you need to believe the set of concepts that you call meaning, purpose, goal, that's a slavery.
Yeah, that's not what I'm looking at.
I know. Yeah. That's the freedom is where, bird is singing. What purpose? What for? We can tell the narrative. Why is it happening?
Yeah.
and monk can wash the dishes, and we can again give a story, purpose, meaning, what for. But the freedom is in not needing to have justified narrative to actually be moved by life, but just living in that. But wanting it is love. Any pleasure, any desire, wanting money, wanting meaning, wanting purpose, wanting health, wanting wisdom, wanting approval, all that is love for the self, imagined as a costume, as a personal. But it's still love. Yeah, wanting for imagined self. Every wanting is an expression of love, contrived a little bit, twisted a little bit, and turned into a desire or fear or whatever it is. But it is still the same essence, the same life, wanting life. It's not wanting, but it is just what it does. It's dancing itself, it's finding itself, it's loving itself. Nisargadatta had this brilliant quote. I'll send it to you, Gina, because I couldn't just find it right now, showing how every egoic behavior is actually love. It's love for wisdom, reading books. Fear is love for the security. You know, if you're fearful, you're kind of trying to gather money or get friends, alliances, whatever. That's the love for the safety. If you think you are the totality, you don't need that. But if you think you are this body, of course, the bodies seem to be needing the protection. And it does have protection if the thinking is not there. Look at the animals, they don't think. And they very well survive in the most flowy, best way. Anyway, I'll just continue to Tanya's insight, which is wonderful. Nothing happens if you don't burn too much calories. How brilliant. This is a thought that appears by itself. Brilliant, that's it, Tanya. I saw earlier on, I am not doing this thought. And the thought belief was going round and round in a loop, with the answer being looked for in the thought, and then the thought, it doesn't matter, came out of nowhere. That is belief, means there is a me. Well, the me only appears as a thought. It is more the sensation, emotion, anxiety that seems to cause suffering. Brilliant, beautiful. Don't even label that suffering, anxiety. Just see how the energy is bubbling and be curious about it. See, it's not going to last, and you learn a lot. Amarnath says, I am stuck is just a notion, not the reality. In fact, it is release from our past concepts. Help is always from internal source. External is a notion. Now, Gilbert, School of Philosophy, is it? Good point. We sometimes stray a little bit into the personal opinions and explanations. Yes, thank you, Gilbert. I wish I read it.
Can I just say something quickly? Like, I feel like you can be a mother, like it's a natural state to be loving and be a mother, but when you think a mother is your identity, like that's what gives you purpose, you're separating from the natural state of being a mother and you're calling yourself a mother. Your name is this person who's a mother and this and that, and that's where the suffering comes into it. You're trying to find identity in what you're doing.
Thank you. And we get back to Amarnath. He says, lacking is natural emptiness with fullness, which we want to fill up with thoughts, things, and personalities. Great point. And Ram answering to Santi, okay, I'm gonna be the bad guy here. And let's see, and state the obvious. Fulfillment for whom? Desire for whom? These types of questions come up when the investment is still going into that image or concept of me. Fulfillment is your birthright. It is what you are. You don't need to do or be anything to be that fulfillment, which is your true nature. The person doesn't like to hear this because it is a direct assault on its very existence. But the irony is that it doesn't exist. And the belief is that it does. It's what obscures that fulfillment that we so desperately seek. And I just remembered one thing that Bob told me when I felt not productive enough at some point in my life, and he has shown me a cat lying on the carpet, catching the rays of sun, being non-creative, non-productive, doing absolutely nothing, and delighting in being. And this is freedom. From that, the playfulness, everything springs up. And now Amarnath says, just be is the best behavior. There is no I in relaxation. And Tanya says, I am not the belief that they are appearing. And she says, thank you, Tass. Sheena says, it is hard just to be, but itself is a practice that brings about much joy when you just be. Don't be too attached to the mind, be attached to the spontaneous flow that heart brings from each moment. She needs to be grounded, and that will bring the energy from the head to the heart and to the root chakra. And Ram says, okay, oh no, that's the same. I'm going to be the bad guy. That's the same text we just had it. Take out me from the beliefs. Phantomness is cleared. That says Amarnath. Tanya says, thank you all. Thoughts here stop looping as well as they were before. Peace is here, laughing out loud. Maybe because attention is not on thoughts. And love you all, says Amarnath, and we have goodbye messages, and we way over time.
Yes.
So thank you very much.
Thank you,
everyone.
Thanks so much.